Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the Rock Church Bay Area Rock Recap. You have entered an incredible space where we come together to talk about our takeaways from this amazing message that just wrapped up from our worship experience. We
Yes.
have Pastor IPJ coming from Faith Live Ministries in South Bend, Indiana. And he killed it, didn't he
Yes.
not?
Yes.
Oh my
Put it
goodness.
out there.
I love his style, his swag. He's to the point, it's direct, it's palatable, you get it. And most importantly, it's applicable. Like you can apply it to your
Yes.
life. So thank you, Pastor YPJ. That was amazing. We are in the middle of our revival. We're in the middle of our revival. And so he is carrying us through, and today was incredible. So I'd love to introduce who we have here to have this amazing conversation with me. Deacon Wayland, Deaconess Crystal, and Sister Nicole.
Hey.
Was today so good?
Yes, it was good.
It was good. You're just making, you want to keep dripping, keep dripping on your mind as you go. Just keep dropping, they say dropping nuggets,
It's true. It's true. He gave us so much to not only just walk away with, but to kind of mull over it throughout the week and try to look what we can implement in our day to day. So that was good. So come on in, encouraging, join the conversation, enter your comments, click like, love, share, all that good stuff. So we'll jump right in. Pastor YPJ opened up with 1 Chronicles 22:9, and his whole message was wrapped around the purpose of this peace. Mm-hmm. And he took the time to walk us through, particularly in the U.S. right now. We are getting vaccinated. There's, the light at the end of the tunnel is in reach. We're starting to see folks are being able to kind of congregate with loved ones, and certain businesses are opening up. So there's a sense of peace that's kind of returning to our lives. And he made it a point to say, when this peace comes, don't just sit. This peace will come with purpose. So I thought that was so good. I'm like, pause there, let that sink in. But he says, when things are going well, we tend to just ride high, kind of ride that wave.
Right.
But challenging us to say, okay, Lord, in this piece, what's the purpose you have for me? What's my assignment? What should I do? And so I love that he is saying, have the same amount of zeal and eagerness that you would have when things are not going well.
Right.
So I just want to pause there for a moment and would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. What does it mean, Pastor is saying, have that eagerness, that zeal, when things are going well, the same way that you have typically when things are in turmoil?
Well, all right. Go ahead, Sister Nicole. Go ahead. Are you ready? I see you. Go ahead.
Ready.
I'm kind of hype here. I mean, for me, what kind of that came to mind, right? It's kind of like a thing that we always need to be aware of, right? Mm-hmm. So when things are bad, that tends to be the time that when we cry out and we're like, Lord, give me instruction, and this kind of thing. But it's the same that when things are going well, you're still supposed to be waiting and seeking his instruction and trying to find out what it is that he is looking for. And so it was definitely a timely message in that, we've been waiting all of 2020, like, when is this going to end? When are we going to get to the point where we can get back to normal? We know that normalcy is not going to happen, but it's like, okay, we see some things changing. We are getting to a place of peace. Like, okay, so I can't, the weather's getting nice for us, right? And, it's like, okay, things are getting better. We can get out into the parks, but it's like, that's not what it's about. It's that pursuit of purpose in that piece. What are we going to do during that time? And so nothing changes. We still need to continue to seek what God has for us and what he wants us to do. So I thought that was so powerful. And it was like really, really timely for me personally, as I'm like, well, what do I need to do about this? How I need to respond to that? So that was everything.
Yes. And just like I was going to say earlier, just as far as if you bring an analogy in towards you be able to see it, as far as like the storm, you know what I'm saying, like a tornado, you see everything just spinning around you, like as far as how the wind's is going up so much, like a turmoil in your life. You got things just flying around you. You can't really see in that time. So, but you should really ask for eagerly to find out what's going on in my life. Lord, what is it? What is it? What is it? But then when it's time for that peace to come, you're in the slow lane when everything else is moving around you. So instead of you keeping the gas on, which he said, don't stop, you got to eagerly put yourself into it. You're everything's still passing you by, even though you're in a peace zone. Everything's still passing you by. So, like, say if you find the time and to be able to put in and say, Lord, what is my purpose right now? You can be able to put your foot on the gas and keep up with everybody else and keep moving and not stay stagnant. If you actually get stagnant, you know why you come. You get stagnant by not asking what to do.
Yeah, that's good, Deacon. Yes, don't lose that momentum and fuel.
Yes, I would have to agree with Sister Nicole and Deacon Wayland just about sometimes we get really lax when everything is going well, and we amp up our prayers or seeking God when things are doing well, but it just like speaks to consistency no matter what. Just being consistent with your relationship with God and just seeking his direction. It just reminds me what Pastor always reminds us. There's not a there. I'm never gonna end or I'm never gonna make it there. There's not that. You always gotta continue going. So in those times of peace, it's not for us to go take a vacation, so to speak, but just to continually be consistent where we are with God and seeking for his direction. So that was really like applicable to make you think. So that was really good.
Yes, I love that, Deaconess Crystal.
Yeah.
Something you said really stood out to me. You're saying the work doesn't stop once the peace comes, right? So it reminds me when Pastor YPJ said, God will bring the peace externally. He'll calm things out. You'll have some money in the bank. Things at work may be going well, but the inner peace is on you, right?
Yeah, that's something.
We have to constantly develop ourselves and really seek how to keep that peace on the inside. So let's take a moment to talk about that. What are some ways that maybe you have found a way to keep peace on the inside? And I'll actually kick it off just to start. I know that I say a lot to myself in my head. So, they call it self-talk, right? I have to tell myself, what am I constantly replaying in my mind? And what's that narrative? Because I can fall into what's common and just let it play and not really see how it might be growing roots and then turning, into constant thoughts, which then could turn into actions. And so personally, I have to tell myself, I have to check myself on what I'm telling myself in my head, if I can say it that way.
Yes.
What are some things on your end?
Oh man, for me, I actually, and this is really new because this past week, it really shook my inner peace, right? Just everything was swirling around like Deacon Wayland said, and it's just like, okay, what am I gonna do? And my daughter had been asking me, she said, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help you? And I was like, I don't know, it's just crazy. But what she started doing was she started reflecting back to me every moment that I said, oh, I can't do this. This is too hard. This is too much. She said, is that really you can't do? Don't God live inside of you? Oh, right. I got it. Okay. Next time this moment come up, she goes, it's you sure? Because that's not what God said. Oh yeah, that's right. So for me, it's having somebody to remind me of that, being a part of community that's gonna say, you know better than that, right? You got this. Keep that mind right. Keep it together. And just go with the flow. God's going to instruct you. He's going to order your steps because that's what his word said he's going to do. He'll put the lamp unto our feet. So I'm like, okay, I got this. To give
Exactly.
the next moment. And it's day by day,
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. You got it because he's got you. That's good. Yes. Your daughter's on point. Tell her, excellent job.
And for me, I've noticed, here lately, like, as far as, saying driving, I drive a lot. So like things people do, it's like, why are you doing that? But then as far as things going around you, but then all of a sudden I said, Lord, okay, help me. Say, don't I said neglect not to ask God for help. As far as things frustrate you, say, go, Lord, help me. Help me bite my tongue because I be wanting to say something like, all right, go ahead, y'all have it. I can be able to relax in it because I make the turmoil come up. Instead of saying, okay, let's have peace in this, I ask God, say, help me so I can have peace and be able to move forward. Because sometimes you you let yourself get frustrated and you want to move into frustration with them, but then not allowing God to be able to help you to be able to stay out of that frustration.
I love that. Don't be afraid to ask God for help. Pastor
Yeah.
YPG said that.
Yes,
YPJ said that. He's like, pull away the ego. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't try to act like we know it all. So that's
Right.
really Wayland.
Yes, I have to agree with you all. For me, just like Sister Danielle said, sometimes it starts in my mind with the thoughts, and and my emotions. So what I do, sometimes what I'm learning to do, shall I say, is pause.
Mm.
It's pause, because sometimes we can be so reactive, and I've been that way, and I'll just go on my emotions, go on the thoughts, and then I'll be on a rabbit trail in a whole, there's a term in English, a slippery slope. One thing happens, and then all of a sudden, oh, the world's going to end, and it's like, no, it's not that serious. Calm down, take a pause. And then sometimes I have to go to the word. I have to get a scripture. One of my favorite ones when my mind is racing and my thoughts are crazy and it seems like I can't bring them in is, casting down imaginations, bringing every thought into the obedience of Christ. And I'll just say that. I say, oh, Lord, just get, I'm casting down my imaginations, Lord. Get a hold of my mind, get a hold of my thoughts, Lord. God, help them to line up with your word because I can't do it right now. My mind's, crazy sometimes, and sometimes I've learned the thoughts are not coming from you. They're suggestive thoughts and, they're not true. So, I have to no, that's not me. That's not my thoughts. That's not from God. No, we're going to dismiss it. So pausing and then using the words sometimes when, and just staying in prayer too, so that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. That is so good. I hear you, Deaconess Crystal, saying how important perspective is. Keeping perspective, making sure you're level-headed, you're not blowing things out of proportion in your mind. I feel like a lot of people say, there's kind of this saying, if it's on the internet, it's real. It's kind of like, if I'm thinking it, it's real. And that's simply not true.
No.
That's such a good reminder. Such a good reminder. Pastor White today was also adding the importance of wisdom and understanding. And as we're growing and developing ourselves internally, because God is obviously presented outside, don't just look to gain wisdom from anywhere. He said, gaining wisdom should be associated with your assignment. And I thought that was a really good point. It's great to obviously take on as much information as you can and constantly grow. But how much powerful could we be if the things that we're bringing into ourselves and into our mind are associated and linked to our assignment? So I thought that was just a great kind of stamp to the piece about the internal growth. The next thing that he mentioned that I would love to talk about is he said, peace is given, not ease. And he's like, God's going to give you peace, but he's not saying everything's going to be easy.
Right.
What did that mean for you all? Like, how did that hit you?
I think like what you just said earlier, as far as I was saying, as far as it's almost like, in the natural world, you always have to have some type of dysfunction to work. And then sometimes we look at the same thing. We always get to have some type of dysfunction or something to be able to say, Lord, I need you. And it's not really look for, okay, it's quiet. So what's my purpose in this? I know it's not going to be easy, but okay, how do I get past this? How can I better myself to be able to go forward and not always have to have it seem like I'm in a turmoil to be able to function?
Yeah, that's good.
That's good, Deacon Wayland, because I know a lot of people who are motivated by just drama, right? Thrive on it, they love it, they need it. But that's a bad kind, right? But it also reminds me too of like the thorn in Paul's side. It's like his grace is sufficient. Because if everything was just going so smooth for us, in fact, I know it, at least for me, if things were just going perfect and so smooth, I have my routines and habits of daily prayer and things like that. But it really is when you hit that point where it's like, okay, I have to come to the end of myself and say, I can't handle this. I can't do this on my own. I need his intervention. And I think like, and God will give you a peace, but now he says, now it's time to put in the work. Now it's time for you to do something. What are you going to do? How are you going to move forward? And it's like, okay, I got this, and that relates to that be strong and courageous part, right? You can have your moment. Don't live there though.
Yes.
Let it fuel you, but you got to move on.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. And just to remember real quick. Oh, go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I was gonna say to Sister Nicole's point about how we rarely have the discipline in those ease times to just seek after God as in we do when things are hard. But to me, also in addition to what she said, it just makes you know God more. I think He allows those times because how else would we know Him? If He didn't allow those things to come to us, and that we can trust Him for the next thing, that's going to happen. We don't know what He has in store for us or where He's going to take us. But I think it's like it adds to each step to allow us to know Him more, to be able to trust Him, so that maybe the next time we won't be afraid as much as the last time. We'll be stronger this time than we were the last time. It's like all building blocks. So I think that's really good, Sister Nicole. Really good.
Yeah, Sister Nicole, Deaconess Crystal. Just to add how pastors say, be comfortable with pain, because pain gives us an opportunity to grow. Because if we didn't have pain, we wouldn't be able to understand, okay, now I can do it like this better, like you guys just alluded to. And if you don't get comfortable as far as knowing that pain is going to come, that's like I said, it's not going to be easy, like Pastor YPJ said, you'll be able to get a lot further than always thinking about the pain that we're in.
That's true. That's good. You won't be surprised that you're expecting it and you have a comfortable, healthy relationship with pain. Doesn't mean it's not going to hurt, right? But you're not thrown off your game and you lose your balance and can't retrieve, your steps. So that's good. I love that. Oh my goodness, this was so good. I feel like there's so much. I'd love to go around as we close. And if you can think of one main kind of tagline or point that really stood out to you that we can leave everyone with, I think that would be great. And pick it off. I feel like something that stood out to me is when Pastor YPJ said, obedience equals success. He's like, that's simple, right? It's not how many cars are in the garage, how large that garage is attached to that humongous house, how large your paycheck is. Obviously, those are things that help us live comfortably, but without obedience, success will simply not be achieved. So I love that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yes.
Should we just jump in there with our takeaway?
Yeah.
Great. So mine was take ownership of your position in God. And to me, what that said to me, because I was in First Chronicles, 22, where he was talking about the regulations and, how God does everything in regulations and, it works all together. And so it's like, when so you can't say that I'm not experiencing the power of God and you don't spend time to develop a relationship with Him. You can't say, well, God, He's not blessing me. Well, when the last time did you bless Him? Or I don't have this, or I can't do that. Well, when was the last time you tithed? Or, it's like, take ownership of where you are. Like, you know what? I'm not praying as much as I should, or I'm not spending as much quiet time with Him as I should. That's where I am. But then you take it and say, well, what am I going to do to get better? How am I going to get more into those things that I know I need to do? Fasting, praying, reading my Bible. What am I going to do so that I can develop that better relationship? So as I go through things, one, I can maintain that inner peace, but I can also reflect God's love out to other people so that, we all can get stronger and better together. That was everything for me. Like, just take ownership.
I love it. Ownership.
I would say for me, my takeaway was in the time of peace, to seek God for understanding and wisdom, and specifically for your assignment. Like, what do you have me to do, God? Like, where do you want me to go? What should I be doing in this time? How do I prepare? So I think that stood out. In the time of peace, just seek God for the wisdom and the understanding.
I love it. The action behind that.
And how it all worked, as far as things you guys said, is all summing up to the end point. As far as what he said, as far as you got to be able to get to a point to where it's have holy, I call it holy boldness. To be able to stick out your chest, drop your ego, to be able to ask God, hey, how can I do this now? All the stuff that you guys just said, now, how can I do this? Which way do I need to do this? Drop my perception, my ways of how I want to perceive things, but then do it your way to ask God to, now you have to have faith, because like you say, that inner man the enemy is fighting the inner man, for you won't be able to step forward in your faith to be able to produce or proceed in your purpose, because we're starting to be become scared and fearful about things. But for us to have that holy boldness and be able to step up and understand, hey God, all right, now I know what to do. Now I can go forward.
So good, so good. All the way around the horn. Amazing. Thank you guys so much. This was such a good conversation. As normal, we will be back next week, same place, same time. But until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful week and enjoy your Sunday.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye.